Going to be a great series. Welcome anybody who's tuning in here to the EGC finals, and let's get into it. This is game number 1 between Vortix and B. This is the group stage with a lot on the line. Of course, Demu waiting in the wings to see what happens. What will be the outcome of this series? Vortix playing as the Delhi Sultanate, and I will say he's definitely known for his very aggressive style with the Delhi Sultanate. And on the other side, we've got 3DB playing as the Rus.
Well, Vortix for the Delhi is not a combination that we super commonly see. In fact, I'm just going to go back. He did play this against Demu on Dry Arabia. That time he faced off against the Abbasids, but normally this is not the civilization that you primarily associate with Vortix. If anything, Delhi Sultanate is like the go-to civilization of B over here. That's going to be an interesting thing to look at here, because when, as a player, you play a certain civilization a lot, you also have a very good understanding of its weaknesses, and that's something that could come into play here for B.
Yeah, absolutely. He's played a lot of Delhi as well. So, things to consider. Up against Rus, you see Vortix only with 1 scout. So some players will decide to train a second one. Not going to be the case here. He does find his first group of deer, and he just needs to hope B doesn't show up to crash this party. And looks like there's a little animation canceling of scouts is back on the menu. Like, what the heck is this? I don't know what happened. It's like, I doubt they purposely wanted to add that back in, but it's like some random old features from the game have come back in this most recent patch.
Yeah, for folks, this kind of animation canceling is actually allowed against the nature here. It's going to make this cleanup of the deer pack a lot quicker, folks. We'll have to see if the devs actually change it back, but that's not something that's regulated in this tournament. Anyway, while we are still in this early state of this series, it's important to highlight what's at stake here. First of all, B can go anywhere from being eliminated from his group to being the champion of his group. If he wins 3-0, he's the champion of this group. If he just wins the series, he's going to be second place. If he gets defeated by Vortix, he's going to be eliminated. Now, if you are a Demu fan, the third player in this group, you're definitely cheering for Vortix, because a B victory here is going to eliminate Demu from this group.
Yep. So a lot on the line. Hopefully we got a lot of gambas going on in chat right now on who's going to win this. And a Tower of Victory coming out for Vortix. Gotta say, the Tower of Victory back in the day didn't used to be as good as it is now. Was actually a landmark we saw pioneered quite frequently by B in a lot of the early tournaments when literally no one was using this landmark. But quite common these days. Vortix playing with the Tower of Victory. And B, I would expect to make the Kremlin, but kind of like missed sometimes expect the unexpected. We do have a Kremlin for now, so nothing too crazy there. And a nice position. Look at this. Going to cover 2 berry patches. It's going to cover the deer just barely, and also going to get some stone and wood. It's a pretty nice spot for a Kremlin.
This is something that we've seen from B in the past, being very aggressive with this Kremlin placement and essentially setting himself up for a second town center with that. It's going to be on the stone, so he's going to be able to protect stone miners. But more importantly, because that hunt is so close to the stone and the Kremlin, B is actually able to drop that second TC no matter what Vortix does, because the Kremlin is always going to be there to protect the villagers that are building the second town center.
And there we go. It is complete. Let's see what he builds first for the Delhi Sultanate. Usually a stable, and that's in fact what we're going to see there. So going to be some horsemen. Vortix going to be playing probably very aggressively. Rus, though, a civilization that's hard to play aggressively against. They've got the Kremlin defending a lot of what's going on. And, we'll see if B goes for just straight for the second TC, if he tries to add any military buildings in. Delhi can be very good at overwhelming you with their scholar push kind of in the later stages. And it looks like B is going to make a stable right away. So he's going to have a stable of his own. Not going to just go straight for a second TC like you might see in other matchups. Okay, and garrison scholars in mosque or madrasa to improve research speed. Just a little reminder there for Vortix. And the reason why we saw that is because he probably popped out of that to go jump into the stable. And the fact that's what he did. So we've got efficient production for the stable. B already going to be building some walls. And it looks like he's going to try to wall that entire southern side of the map. I would not be surprised if he completes that all the way over. He's got a boar there behind that wall. I think that might be what we're going to see. In the most recent DLC release, you can now like wall through stone, wall through wood, a lot more effectively than you could before. So we're seeing even more walling than we used to.
Yeah, the snapping of walls definitely makes walls a lot more powerful than they used to be. And I love how B is just essentially sectioning off the map over here, although he's going to be in a little trouble. Ghazi Raiders are moving in from Vortix, and as much as B has Knights, that's not really the best unit when it comes to fighting Ghazi Raiders, as the Ghazi Raiders do get bonus damage against heavy cavalry.
They, in fact, do. It's not a ton of extra damage, but it's enough to help them swing these fights. As you see, look at that. His Knight's not really afraid to take this engagement, at least in those small numbers for now.
Big thing is that Ghazi Raiders are faster than Knights, so they can chase them away. Or if the Ghazi Raiders do not want to fight, they can disengage, they can fall back, and Delhi Scholars can even heal them back up. That's exactly what Vortix is doing right now. He's tanking up the damage with his one scout, as B actually gets a good raid going over here. Nice formation shuffle by Vortix. Keeps all the villagers alive, but you see, Ghazi Raiders can chase down the injured cavalry, and if they do not want to fight the Knight, they can just disengage and fall back for healing.
Yep, and right now we do see just kind of horsemen running around, or Ghazi Raiders rather, and Knights. That's going to be the early stages. This B, though, already has a barracks as well. So we've got some spearmen being trained. You can see in Vortix base, he's got his blacksmith, so already working on some of those free technologies. And he also has an archery range.
Oh, B lost a Knight to the boar. I think that must have been the damaged Knight that took a beating from the Ghazi Raiders. Just a bad start for him here. At least the scout survives, but just not the start that he wanted, really.
Pumbaa claims another victim. You see Vortix moving out to the sacred site, going to be capturing that and building a wall with that Delhi infantry. A unique thing for Delhi, they can build walls. Pretty cool.
The only thing I'm having concerns about for B's walling here is that he didn't wall off the single sacred site. I think it's nice that he's kind of sectioning off the map, but he's losing a lot of precious Knights. He needs to sacrifice these to have any kind of chance of walling this off. But even if he walls off this entire southern portion of the map, Vortix will be more than happy to take 3 sacred sites, and he's also able to take out some of these Knights now.
Yep, so he gets the sacred site. Going to be losing another Knight. B's military count pretty low. And Delhi, their military will just keep growing. They train pretty quickly, and it can get to be pretty scary after time. Not to mention you add some sacred sites in there as well. But it looks like B was able to tag one of those scholars, so a nice pickup there.
A nice little pick. Vortix is only on 1 sacred site, but these Ghazi Raiders, they have definitely caused a lot of headache here for B. He went for quite a few expensive Knights, wasn't really able to get much out of them just yet. Now with the Spearmen having been mixed in, it's a different story, but Vortix is up to 6 archers, and once again, this is not a fight that B should be comfortable in.
Yep, and we see the archers picking off Spearmen quite effectively. He's got Knights kiting back for now, but Vortix's military count is just growing and growing right now. B's got a lot of resources coming in now that he's out on that boar, but hard for him to take these fights. Those Knights, they're going to get trapped. It looks like B maybe not paying attention. They're going to lose those. Oh, man. Okay, so
this
for
is
right
looking
now,
awful for B. He's playing 1 DC behind this, by the way. He cannot really afford to lose expensive units like this. 1,300 value destroyed against 300. That is a monstrous difference at minute 10.
Yeah, this is a little interesting. I'm kind of surprised B's been throwing some of these Knights away to these fights. It's kind of unlike him usually. But for right now, B trying to form his army together. We got Spears, Archers, and Knights spread out. Vortix has been really controlling the battlefield so far. That might be a nice pickup for him there. And going to be trying to go for that sacred site. Knights could clean up those archers. This could be a momentum shift that B could use, but a nice little route around the tree is going to buy him a little bit of time there with his archers as he gets back to his main army.
Those archers just slippery as ever. B gets one for his trouble, but at the end of the day, look at how battered those knights are. In fact, B is actually lucky to take a fight here with the spearman beating up many of those Ghazi raiders. Looks like might be a bit of a momentum swing here. The spearmen have done a lot of damage to Vortix's troops, but now Vortix turns around and it looks like he's just going to fight off most of these knights with the Ghazi raiders. Even his trade of armies, but that's something that Vortix is more than happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. Killing those knights, worth losing a few of these trash units. They're not expensive for Vortix. Look at his economy. He's got almost 1K food in the bank. And, you know, I don't know if that's
No
a
gold.
purpose. And yeah, I don't know if that's a purposeful macro. His economy is just booming right now. He's got no raids going on. All these knights are here. I mean, we've got a second sacred site. Well, it looks like one now because he did just lose one of those. But
Vortix needs spears here, though, because one thing that he's struggling with is that when the knights and the spearmen engage at the same time, he gets a couple of hits on his Ghazi raiders no matter what. And those just die way too quickly. As you touched on this, the Ghazi raiders don't have a massive amount of bonus damage against the knights. So in these fights, B's actually getting better and better efficiency, and that's why that destroyed value discrepancy is shrinking. Vortix needs to change something up because these unit compositions will start favoring B very soon.
Vortix never able to complete the walls down there. I will say most of the time I try to build a wall with my archers, I just end up losing archers to like a horseman or knight raid, which is kind of exactly what happened here a little bit because they spread out weird and then path weird around the unbuilt walls. Here we go.
There's a reason why you're not playing in this tournament though, right?
Absolutely. Because I play Byzantines. Vortix playing the compound defender, moving up to the castle age. So 19 villagers on that. That'll give him some unique upgrades, including Village Fortress, also helping him get some cheaper keeps out on the map.
Yeah, Compound of the Defender, something that's going to give massive bonuses for Vortix, including the ability to eventually start skyrocketing his eco. Something that he's going to need very badly because his resource income was far from spectacular. He barely had any sacred site control.
Oh, one villager goes down. That's actually the first villager death of the series. Pretty impressive after 12 minutes and lots of knights and horsemen running around. B pushing in, of course, Vortix is aging up, so this is the time you kind of want to defend, not over invest in a raid, and
Nope.
doesn't get that one. Nice try.
Yeah, Lancers are now coming out here for Vortix though, so he's going to have some premium units to fight off these knights with. He's still struggling with numbers though, he's got a lot of archers, but those are just so useless against all these knights. I'm actually wondering if he is going to play crossbows here, because there's not much that B has against crossbows specifically. He has 7 archers, but we haven't really seen them on the playing field.
Yeah, I guess the better question is, like, B's gonna need to try to age up here at some point. And he's putting everything he has into his knights, just trying to keep this field advantage. And they're gonna have to figure out a way to slip on up to the castle age at some point.
He might not need to. Vortix is struggling for food very badly. We've seen fights close to the berries, and now you just look at that northern position with the hunt. Vortix is desperate for food here, and B is using these knights in a very effective manner to shut down the food access of Vortix.
Got knights and horsemen up there. And it looks like B's trying to sweep around, but Vortix is building some walls. Whoop! A little army. Oh, he's trying to guard the relic, but it's just going to cost him a few units there in the end. He's trying to go for a raid, but that wall stopped him.
4 was randomly aggroed by their Vortix. What is the plan with that? He might try to take it out to eliminate the bounty from the opposing player.
Okay, Vortix with all those upgrades in queue, of course. Village Fortress probably being one of the more meaningful ones as it gets into the middle stages of this game.
The remarkable thing that Vortix has accomplished is that he only lost 2 villagers despite all this pressure. That's insanely difficult to accomplish, especially against an accomplished player like B.
Okay, so right now, B looks like he's drawing some walls across the map on the northeast side. still spending all of his resources on army, so just continuing to build up. Could maybe pick off some villagers here. Those villagers have to have textiles, right? Seems like they've survived a lot.
That's always the question we ask, and he does have it indeed. It's a good investment, especially with the deli. You get it for free, you have to sacrifice one villager's worth of production time, but that means that it's very valuable. If you expect to lose more than one villager, then it's worth it.
Yeah, so for most of you in Twitch chat, you should get textiles like every single game. Shots fired.
Yeah, savage, disrespecting the Twitch audience. Anyway.
That includes me.
Anyway, Vortix has stabilized quite a bit here. He's getting some very nice charges in here. He's been flanking around these cavalry for quite some time. But I think the important thing here for Vortix is that he was able to secure additional resources. He secured that little pocket to the left, allows him to have the berry income. He's still working his way towards relics though, and I don't know about you, but I just feel like Vortix doesn't really have a lot of momentum right now.
That's
he might not even need it,
yeah,
but
he struggled with food.
It feels slow.
He was pushed off that deer for a long time. Vortix, he invested 2 towers on that deer. He really wanted to gather there, and then B kept pushing him off. So that's why he had like 10 villagers building that wall. So he just finally has stabilized his food eco a little bit. So now he's going to start to get some momentum. But B, trying to just apply pressure, kind of figures this isn't the time to sit back and let Deli grow in strength. But is it going to work out here as Deli just slowly is grabbing more relics? He keeps denying them, so you got to give him credit that. He's only recovered 1 relic so far. He's trying to just hit these food sources.
He's doing an exceptional job limiting Vortix's map control. Now, this might not be enough, though, because Vortix is getting very close to Village Fortress's finishing. And this is why I said that I'm not sure if Vortix actually needs momentum. Once that upgrade comes in, he's going to skyrocket his eco. In fact, he can already afford a keep. He's going to start booming up. And he's also slowly creeping closer and closer to his base with these relics. B's still stuck in Feudal Age. And now the upgrades, the Castle Age upgrades those are coming in for Vortix as well. I feel like Vortix might be happy to just play a very defensive game here.
Yeah, I wonder where he's gonna place that keep. If that'll just be defensive in base, or if he'll try to put it out on one of these gold veins in the middle. He might not even go for that trip. Maybe like right there. Yeah, could be somewhere you might expect to see it. But B continuing to just lose some random troops here and there. But a nice little fight there. He's able to, looks like, almost kill those knights, lancers rather. That berry bush is going to run out. And I think that's where things are going to get a little awkward if he has to make a farm transition. But he's able to use these deer. Steals another berry bush down, it looks like on the south side. I'm not sure how much berry is left on that, if he's been gathering it already or not.
B is pulling the militias. He needs to fight a decisive fight now, and the fact that he's pulling the militia is definitely indicating that. He might choose the wrong side to attack, though, because the keep is going up on the other side, and Vortix might be happy with those berries, might even bail on this hunt.
Yep, and not to mention there's Springgold Towers here. We're going to take this fight. They're going to use the Kremlin Gremlins to try to get up on those knights. And Vortix seeing this, he's just going to run back to his base. Use a nicely timed Wolo to stop this army. That's a very good move on that. Lancer's able to get a charge off, and then they might just turn back around. That's exactly what's going to happen. B continuing to dance across the map here after Vortix, using the archers to try to pick off, I guess, some of the knights. But B has a huge army here right now. But a lot of them are like attacking the mill and stuff. Not ideal in a fight like this. It always drives me crazy when I'm chasing an army and they start attacking the house or the mill or the mining camp. But Vortix is pulling back, trying to force it in the base. He could even pop out of there and do another Wololo if he wanted to with those relics. But he is 3 secured right now. And I feel like he's whittled down enough of B's troops. Look, he's still got Lancers alive. This was a great fight for Vortix.
I think the big thing is that B's got 22 spearmen, but very few of them are on this screen right now. So these Lancers are actually decimating these archers, despite the fact that they aren't supposed to. Don't forget, folks, this is a Castle Age army against a Feudal Age army. Raw numbers are still favoring B here, though. But I feel like the town center fire supported by these Lancers will be just enough to clean this up.
Yeah, and for B, he's not in Castle Age. He has to have his standing army to keep the momentum. And He continues to flood in the base, but he's not really, I mean, he's got, what, maybe a few villagers inside that keep, or that town center idled. He's not forcing a ton of idle time or anything like that.
Well, you say that, but it's 20 villagers now. There's a lot more to this, and Vortix is down to 300 food per minute. This second wave from B, the Knights, those are actually scary for Vortix now. I don't think mass archers and...
Whoa!
Yeah.
He gets it! Wow.
I was just about to say, I don't think that mass archers and spearmen were very terrifying for Vortix under his TC. The second wave of Knights were, though, and Vortix, he is going to tap out of this one. It looked so good for him, but I think the remarkable thing in B's game plan was how exceptionally he was able to deny the resources from his opponent. That resource denial game with Knights was just world-class from B, and that's exactly why he was able to salvage a game which started in a very rough fashion. He lost a lot of Knights to the Ghazi Raiders, lost a Knight even to a Boar. Very slow start here for B, but the resource control game ultimately secures the win for him, and he's fighting for a lot here. He needs at least a set victory to survive in the group stage, but with a 3-0 win, he's able to secure the #1 spot in this group even.
Definitely the food denial there was absolutely massive in that game, and he was able to drag that out despite Delhi being in the castle age, despite setting a keep. That keep didn't even come into play. He built it somewhere else. I don't think that even saw the light of day. But with that, oh boy, look what we got coming up here. B gonna be whipping out the Byzantines up against Vortix English. Boy, I'm excited about this matchup. This is gonna be fun.
He is coming out with the Byzantines, man. I'm curious. I'm very curious about this matchup here. We've seen this once already today. It wasn't a very different map, though. This time around, it's going to be on Rocky River, a map that we've seen a lot of trading recently. I just have no idea what Vortix has on his mind here, but we could easily be seeing some Dark Age Men-at-Arms here from him.
I think it's very likely. We've seen that before. How will B play the Byzantines? We're going to have to watch very closely. Not sure. I mean, I think we know if the Byzantines win this, they need to be nerfed. The last time was a fluke. The Byzantines almost had it, right? But it just didn't work out. We'll see if what he opens up here. I don't expect to really see any water come into play here in the opening stages of the game, especially with 2 fish in those ponds. There's no way that's going to come into play here. But of course, we've got a Gamba going on. Get those channel points, predict those EGCs. Let's see where everybody's predicting right now. We've got 175,000 EGC points on Vortix and only 33 on B. So your odds could be very good if you're going for B right now, but the people don't seem very confident on either B or the Byzantines.
Let's take a quick look at, once again, the possible outcomes of this group here, because this is, I think, by far the most complicated group to understand. So if you missed the first game, it's a 1-0 lead right now for B. Last time that these two players have met, it was the quarterfinals of Call to Arms. B won that series 3-1. He would be more than happy with a result like that. That would put him into the second spot within this group.
Yep, and of course, once again, look at the bottom stages of that game. If B's able to get a set victory here, that would not be good for Demu. So Demu fans, you very much want to be rooting for Vortix right now. Vortix, he's got no chance of being eliminated. It's not possible. This only improves his first place. So a lot of fun things going on here right now. And as you can see, the last encounter, B was able to take a victory over Vortix. So Vortix probably wants to try to get his revenge here in this matchup. But Byzantines versus English, this is going to be a fun one.
Oh, certainly it will be. Oltsev versus New. I'm very curious how the players will approach these civilizations on this map, Rocky River, because this map is not really a notorious English or Byzantine map. So we might see some weird shenanigans here, but looks like game number 2 is coming up here, folks. We'll be jumping into game number 2 of this best of 5, B versus Vortix on Rocky River.
Here we have it. It is all part of the EGC finals. The finest in Age of Empires 4 esports, featuring the best players in the world. We've got 3DB facing off versus Vortix. A lot on the line. And I said, well, we probably wouldn't see a whole lot of water openings, and here's Vortix with a dock right away in the middle of the map. So I stand corrected, which is great. This is why these guys are the pros. Let's see what we've got in store. We've got a water opening for the English, and then we've got B's Byzantines. How is he going to play this? A berry opening. So that could either mean early mercenaries, or you can do a sneaky strat where you sell oil to do a fast castle. I have a feeling it's going to be mercenaries, but we'll have to wait and see.
Now, we have seen players trading a lot on this map. Not with these specific civilizations, but trade has been a pretty common approach taken by players in this tournament here. So I'm actually wondering if B has something crazy on his mind in terms of that. He tried to play a little weird in the previous game as well, kind of sectioning off the map with walls. And I think there could be an interesting synergy between the Hippodrome and Triumph Cavalry play, combined with some trade. Or perhaps alternatively, as you said, a fast castle could be approach, or could be something that he can approach with olive oil being sold. And there is a third option even. You could maybe even play something like Keshik Mercenaries and then do the trading, kind of Mongol-esque. We've seen this Keshik plus Horseman combination in the last English versus Byzantine matchup that we had today.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so gonna be a fun matchup. Hope you guys are enjoying the AOE4 esports action here for you today. You can just tune in just about every Saturday. There's always something going on, except for when there isn't. But most of the time there is. We've got the finals of the finals, the quarterfinals, the grand finals coming up right around the corner. So it's only going to get better. Christmas comes early here on EGC TV. And it looks like no man-at-arms rush or anything too sneaky here. Just going to be that opening on the fish. And we've got an Imperial Hippodrome for the Byzantines. So that's going to be the School of Cav for the Byzantines, but going to be spamming out horsemen, likely going to be the first thing you will see there out of B.
For now, what this means for us is that because Vortix is fishing, his Feudal Age is going to be the light. And don't forget, folks, English cannot make spearmen in Dark Age. So one thing that Vortix will need to be extremely cautious about is that initial aggression with the cavalry, because he simply won't have a single spearman that can fight it off.
Yep. And with the cisterns, you can train them quite quickly. Does B have any additional cisterns? It doesn't look like he opened with stone. No, he has not. So a lot of times you'll see players play some kind of additional stone opening to get 2 or even 3 cisterns down, which can really speed up your production. It also looks like it's just on the edge of the cistern. I hope that's actually touching it. I think it is. It's just really, really close. I don't know if you can actually see it there, which is interesting feature of the UI, but I think it is. Just to be clear, when I'm mentioning this, if you haven't played a lot of Byzantines, the circle is what buffs the villagers. The square around the cistern, which we can't see right now, is what buffs the buildings. So just so you understand that, don't be confused. The circle does not buff buildings.
For now, all of these villagers will indeed be buffed. No second cistern, as you kind of touched on that, so it's a single cistern build. Vortix going for the classic council hall here. No major surprise in there, but of course, longbows will not really be your go-to unit, at least not alone when you're facing a hippodrome.
And he's got enough oil in the bank already. If he plops down that mercenary house, he can start training mercenaries. But again, don't be fooled. If we don't see a mercenary house, that could be because he's trying to sell the oil. So we'll have to wait and see here. I'm just trying to, get excited for some unique builds, but I've seen it.
I'm personally a big fan of the olive oil selling fast castle into cataphracts, especially when you combine that with the cistern of the first hill, allowing you to heal those cataphracts on the field. That is actually the Knight micro player's dream. I don't think this is something that B wants to go for, though, because he would be very exposed and he would only have a handful of units to work with. Mass spearmen plus longbows could easily overwhelm him in that case.
I've experimented around with the different fast castle strats you can do, right? You can do the selling olive oil strategy, you can do the opening with mercenaries, opening with berries, right? And at least with my testing of it, I find that it's like, okay, well, you can sell your oil and maybe age up like slightly faster, but then you put no pressure on the field. You cede all map control. It doesn't feel great, except for in very niche scenarios where players are pushing in with an army.
But it's going to be javelins. And this is
Oh.
something we touched on in the previous English versus Byzantine matchup today. I highly advocated for javelins. I think it's actually one of the most valuable additions that you can make to the Byzantine army. Combined with some limitani if your opponent is going cavalry, that combination of horsemen, limitani, and javelins is extremely tough to stop for any civilization. Here, heavy commitment to javelins, supported maybe by some Varangians in castle, that could be a tough matchup for Vortix.
Not to mention, this could also be to snipe out those fishing boats. Could be part of his motivation here. I'm not sure, but the javelin could stand a chance at actually killing those. Be what he's going for. They've got some considerable range. Nice little wall down there, but for Vortix there at the south side of his base.
Yep.
B tried to go for a circle, but not going to be able to do that. Going to have to turn back around.
Yeah, javelins, first time they are meeting these longbows on the field, and Vortix is just going to be like, I'm out of here. He can technically make combat ships on those docks, allowing him to kind of have a strong point in the middle, limiting B's movement to a certain extent. But for now, he doesn't have any of those, and he's going to be confined all the way in his base. This is where B could contemplate sneaking in a castle age behind this. We've seen that numerous times. You make a couple of units, you pin the enemy inside their base, and then you go castle.
As you see those javelins getting some nice trades there. Or haven't really got a kill there, but getting some nice volleys off at the least. There you go. You're going to see that right now. Longbow's going to try to take him out. Micro from B on point. He even pulls the one damaged javelin back, but does go down. Unlike the Malians, you can't just keep training these, right? You got to keep the olive oil flowing, and he doesn't have the Grand Winery, so it's going to take even longer. And here we go, villagers in transition. So food income right now a little bit at a stop, a little bit, and he's going to, I think, yeah, he's going for the berries on the other side of the map.
Oh, this is an intriguing option here. This map having a lot of berries, so you get a lot of olive oil for the Byzantines. And especially against the English, a civilization that's known for having limited mobility, it's difficult for the English to punish this expansion. Now, if it does get scouted, I expect Vortix to harass it with at least a handful of longbows. But for the time being, B is going to get away with all of those villagers out there on the berries.
Okay, so we see horsemen running away from those spears, encircling. Those fishing boats, by the way, Vortix trained, you know, they're going to deplete that water source soon, right? There's not a ton out there. So that's just one thing to consider as far as that goes. He can just ignore it if he chooses because of that alone.
Yeah, Vortix is making a farm transition right now. B, he is on stone alert. Vortix fortifying that gold mine. He does not want any of those horsemen reaching the villagers.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Scout doing a little loop, seeing what's going on in B's base. Might be trying to figure out where the villagers are. You can usually just check the berries. By the way, this map does have a lot of berries. So as far as a map to select the Byzantines on, they aren't close to your town center, as you can see. But it does, in fact, have a lot of berries. So, man, I'm just thinking more and more about how good a winery it could be here.
A lot of food in the bank here for B, but he doesn't really have any gold income here. So this is still a faraway position from Castle Age. Unless he's willing to sell some resources. He doesn't have a lot of olive oil to sell, though. Makes me wonder what exactly the plan is. He does have a lot of stones, so cisterns could once again be a thing. And he's super heavy on the berries. I'm actually wondering if maybe, just maybe, that excess food he's collecting is almost a side product to the olive oil hustle that he's having. He wants those javelins, he wants the olive oil, and he's like, oh shoot, I'm actually collecting way too much food from this. What am I going to do with all that food if I don't have the gold for Castle Age?
Okay, so we see more javelins coming across mid right now. 9 horsemen, 7 jabs. That's on the other side. We see 13 longbows, 5 spearmen for Vortix. Vortix, though, going up to the Castle Age. We've got the King's Palace on the gold. Be an excellent time for B maybe to poke in there with some javelins, but still just a little bit away. They're walking across the map, but I think he's going to get this age up off. Look at that. 27 villagers. He knows he's in danger.
I feel like it's B that's going to be in danger very soon, though. With this town center up, I don't think that B can commit anymore. And B is still very low on gold. He's actually being heavily delayed going into Castle Age because of the lack of gold.
Yeah. Okay, so B, he's going to need to fix his gold macro, but it looks like he's working towards it. It should be aging up here shortly. Javelin's going to try to get some raids and see if he's able to get some, but there's now enough longbows that he can actually pick off these javelins pretty effectively, as you see there. You know, one javelin for one longbow, not how you hope for it to go. You're the one with the jabs. Vortix scouting, he sees the gold, so he says, okay, B's aging up, right? You see that? No, there's probably not a whole lot more pressure on the way. Unless he's just smacking down rams, which is not the case here. This army almost looks like a Malian army. Like there's the Byzantine cav almost look like Sofa with the javelin behind him. Golden Horn Tower are going to be the landmark of choice there that will spawn mercenaries every time.
Yeah, that's immensely valuable when you go for javelins. You talked about this. The problem with the javelins for the Byzantines compared to the Malians is that you cannot mass produce them, or at least not as effectively as Malians can. So at some point, as you said, Vortix is more than happy trading longbows to javelins because javelins are just so difficult to replace. The Golden Horn Tower changes that a little because suddenly you have a consistent influx of javelin throwers for no cost.
And I think in the second age you get camels? Is that the one?
Yep, you get camels. And that's a deadly combo. Camels, javelin throwers, combined with the normal Byzantine units, make such a diverse composition, and something that's essentially there to counter everything that the opponents can bring.
I would say they're not great against the spearman, longbow, man-arms mass. The camels aren't going to be your best option, but if he makes knights, certainly.
Varangians are, though.
Yeah. Okay,
it's not just the mercenaries, it's also what you combine them with. For now, the javelins are enough to hold this, or at least they should be. Veterancy is going to take some time until that comes in for the mercenaries, though.
Oh, picks off a spearman. Now, this is where Vortix needs to be a little careful. He could lose a few spearmen, and suddenly this horseman can turn around and go for a fight. And that might be what we see happening here right now. He could also pop Triumph. I don't know if he's used it yet. This could be the fight. There we go. Triumph coming in right now. He takes out all the spears. Not a good time for Vortix to take this engagement.
That's just a terrible fight for Vortix.
Oh.
And it's very bad for the English to get caught off guard like that. You basically have no retreat potential. You lose the fight, you lose the army, and that's exactly what's happening. Vortix is going to be more than happy getting away with just a handful of longbows over there. He's making a switch to men-at-arms as we speak. Cataphracts will be on the way for B, though. B has a lot of food in the bank that he hasn't yet used. I feel like if he starts putting those resources to use, Vortix could be in big trouble here.
That fight went better for Vortix than I expected. There was just like one or two spearmen and a man-arms that kept the horsemen occupied. I thought it was going to be a full cleanup. So Vortix, he escapes with a few. But for right now, it feels like B's got a little momentum. Byzantines, once you can get up to the castle age, start to feel a lot better, that's for certain. We got man-arms, though, starting to flow around the map, and he's going to need to do something about that. Really diving these longbows with these javelin. I guess not really afraid to go underneath the town center. You see him immediately getting his unique upgrade at the blacksmith. That is going to be buffing up his cataphracts and his Hamatanai quite nicely.
Yeah, Vortix is in trouble here. He's making men-at-arms and longbows. Neither of these will be good against mass cavalry and javelins. Men-at-arms will be alright against all these javelin throwers, but at this point, javelins are just looking to snipe villagers and longbows. But when the cataphracts arrive, Vortix has no answer to those.
So B pushes Vortix all the way back to his base. With that, it also gives him the space to stay out on those berries. You see on the north side, he's still got a lot of villagers, like extremely exposed. I mean, there's cataphracts roaming. You can't just leave your base without having an army to deal with it. And B, bringing up these javelins, bringing up the cataphracts, this can start to get really dangerous for Vortix in this moment. And we got a counter raid back at home for the Byzantines.
Yeah, nice little raid with the man-at-arms, but it shouldn't accomplish much over here. This force is a lot more terrifying. Javelin throwers, cataphracts underneath the town centers. And Vortix is in the middle of a farm transition as well. Vololo popping out here, a bit of a traffic jam, but B does get away.
Yeah, that is almost going to lose it. Vortix falls to the Byzantines, as they've all been calling. Nerf Byzantines, taking down the English. Not something you see every day. and that's going to make the series 2-0 in favor of 3DB.
Now, this is where it gets very interesting. Vortix cannot get eliminated from this one. He needs one game victory to secure the first spot in the group. B needs a set victory to make sure that he gets to the playoffs. But if B wins 3-0, he's going to be the first place in this group. What this means for us is that the upcoming game directly decides who gets the first place in this group. And don't forget, folks, if B ends up winning this series, it's going to come down to Demu being eliminated, because for Demu to stay alive in the second place, he needs Vortix to win the series.
That is just going to be massive. I like trying to hope somebody wins so that you don't get eliminated. It has to suck. Demu sitting on the sideline watching that. So Demu fans, you better be pulling for Vortix in this next one. But I'd be surprised if B pulls a 3-0 sweep off on Vortix. It's definitely going to be a challenging one, but I feel like we were just watching a Malian game, but now we get a real Malian game. A Malian mirror to decide all of those things you just said. Oh my gosh. That's going to be crazy.
So big. This game directly decides who wins this group. From that point on, the only question is who's going to be second place, if there's going to be any questions. Oh my lord. Now, a real quick look. Beastie is the second place within his own group, so he would face off against the winner of this group, and Wham, the winner of this group is going to face the second place within this group. So, quick look again at the possible outcomes here. It's still wide open for B. Strictly speaking, with a reverse sweep coming in from Vortix, B could still be eliminated. But if he wins this game, he's going to be first place in this group. How crazy is that to think about it? Technically, you could still be eliminated, but you could still be the number one in your group. That's the kind of margin that B is playing within this series.
I'm nervous for everybody right now. I want everybody to win and stay. I don't want any of these guys.
That's not how tournaments work.
I don't want any of these guys eliminated. So I don't know who to root for in this next game. But you know, like maybe that's we just root for the Malians. That's about all we can do.
Just a couple of seconds to go until the next game, but here we have the standings of the groups. 3 groups have already been decided. Group A, B, C, and D already have their first 2 places. D is the only one that is still up for grabs. Marine Lord and Louis MT advancing from Group A, Poppy and Lucifron from Group B, Wham and Beastie from Group C, and then we'll soon get to see who gets to advance from Group D.
I'm looking at the predictions. The predictions seem to be a lot more split this time. 411,000 for B, 352 for Vortix. Got some fair weather fans showing up now that we see B 2-0 up in this series. I heard if you spam the name and the player you want to win, it actually helps their villagers walk faster in this next game. So keep that in mind as we come up on Gorge with the Malians. I mean, B basically had a Malian warm-up game. He's been microing javelins already. Gorge is going to be a map. Of course, you've got exposed resources, but they'll both be kind of on the similar boat. You have the gold either forward or just to the side. You got the trees right behind you. So it's going to be an interesting one for that. And while this could be our final game today, it also could keep going. I hope you guys have enjoyed the journey thus far. We are here about 6.5 hours of casting with Lidakor. Lidakor's doing a great job. One of the best analysts we could have out here. We've got behind the scenes, of course, Vodka doing a great job on the observing and doing all of this great production going on. So shout out to everyone involved here for EGC TV. And if you've enjoyed what you've watched, make sure you followed, but maybe also subscribe to the channel. It's the season of giving, so give your fellow viewer a gifted sub to EGC TV to support AE4 Esports.
Indeed, but it looks like game number 3 is ready to go, folks. Malian Mirror on Gorge to decide who becomes the champion of Group D over here. Spawning in on the right side is Vortix with the Malians in blue. Also, the Malian civilization is there for B. Spawning into the southwest with the orange color.
And here we go, and we are off. Game number 3. Could this be it for the group stage? Will B be sending Dimu packing and securing himself a nice spot in the advancement of this tournament? We will see, but Vortix, he's still got plenty more to say. Playing the Malians, it's a mirror matchup, so you can't blame any Civ Imba or anything like that. It's going to come down to a Malian showdown. And I will say both these players, very, very well versed at this civilization. I've seen Vortix pulling this out in mini series in the past, B as well. So I think this should be one of the top-notch Malian games you could possibly see.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a micro fest in many ways, and you know, neither of these guys are pushovers when it comes to micro. This is going to be, you know, small differences make the mal. We always say that, but especially for Malian mirrors, that's going to be even more so applicable. Speaking of which, Vortix has the upper hand collecting the initial sheep.
Yeah, man, a lot of sheep. Look at that. Can I see the scouting pattern? What did he do there? I need to copy that. Okay, B ran across the map. Vortix did a circle. Sometimes I'm convinced on the new maps, nothing ever makes sense with the scouting patterns, but I'm going to go back and study that one for the sheep on this map.
Yeah, if B wins this game, Dimu is eliminated. It also means that B is going to be the #1 player, and he would get to play Beastie tomorrow in the quarterfinals. On the other hand, if Vortix wins this specific game, that is enough for him to be the first one within his group, means that Vortix would be facing off against Beastie tomorrow.
Oh, buddy. Okay, Vortix got the good start there on the sheep. We get the Manzikori already coming down. 8 villagers building the Manzikori. That's a lot. And he's up quite significantly earlier than Vortix. So I'm not sure what the difference he did there at the beginning. We have to maybe check how many houses he built. Vortix laying down that Manzikori right now. It's 6 for Vortix and just 4 for Beast. That was the difference there. So he didn't build as many houses early on. So have a little bit less gold, but he's deemed that to be the cost of war here and the cost of aging up a little bit faster.
Yeah, B is committing 8 villagers as well. This is a quick age up to feudal age. On the other side, Vortix is only using 5 villagers to build his own landmark, so he's taking a slower path to feudal age. Now, of course, one thing to look out for is that you only have 1 safe gold mine to work with on this map, if you can call that safe even. Everything else is going to be very exposed, so from this moment on, the moment the players start moving towards those additional pit mines, you can start raiding those, and that actually makes me wonder if we are going to see some early cavalry here from either of these players. Maybe some warrior scouts could be a great way to put some pressure on those very exposed gold deposits.
Yep, and we've got a lot of villagers on wood. We'll see what they drop down here first. I mean, look how much faster B aged up. That's pretty significant. But we'll see what military building he goes for here first. There we go, getting a lumber camp behind there. He's also tucked that Manzikori behind his TC, just a little bit of a difference. And we're off. There we go. Feudal Age is underway for both players. Vortix moving to the lumber. And we've got a stable for B. 3 villagers going to be building that.
Yeah, there's the stable from B. And this is what, like, on this specific map, I love this warrior scout play because it gives you so many things. It gives you a lot of extra food to work with. Sure enough, you eventually go for cattle, but it could actually allow you to play a lot more aggressively than usual with the Malians. And more importantly, that's going to give you an ability and a tool to put pressure on the opponent's gold mines that are on the far side of the map. And given that Vortix is expanding to the far east right now with his pit mines, that's exactly what B needs to target.
And he's going to be having his... Is he even training a unit right now? That he just grabbed the upgrade for his warrior scouts. He made that, but he couldn't afford to actually... There we go. Gets his first unit in queue. Macro is so tight right now.
Neck and neck difference is really wheelbarrow for Vortix. No wheelbarrow on the other side, but that scout already has the spear in his hand, so that's a warrior scout now. So substantially more formidable in melee than normal scouts are. That's actually one of the cool things that you can grab as the Malians. It's a scout, gives you a lot of line of sight, It's a scout that you can use potentially to ferry in deer carcasses as well. But it's also a light cavalry unit, something that's really cheap and effective when it comes to putting pressure on the opponent.
It feels like Vortix's economy is slightly ahead. He got his second pit mine down faster. You see him already get all those houses queued up. Sure, he aged up a little more slowly, but he got a little more gold because of that with his larger house opening. So we'll see if this early additional scout for B actually is able to do any damage of sorts. It looked like he's targeting the villager out there on the gold mine, but we'll see.
I like Vortix's build a lot better too. I think the issue here for B is that it takes time to torch down houses, and all that Vortix needs to do to prevent this from happening is make one Danzo. And that's exactly what he's doing. Vortix actually has the head start when it comes to building all these houses in the pit mine. And while he's going to lose the villager, I feel like he's happy with this as long as the pit mine stays alive.
Yeah, I don't know. Losing a villager early on there. He's also losing the time to build that. We've already got a Muvu in progress here for B. He's working on those cows. And looks like Vortix, there's that one Danzo you mentioned. Going to bring a villager out to replace it. Gets that launch there. Needs to be careful not to lose this villager also. B could like micro the heck out of it. And actually we see him target the boar. Oh boy, you hear it yelling.
That was a very accurate representation of the boar, and boy, that boar is just so oppressive. B is going to keep running circles around because as long as the boar is there, those Danzos and the villager just cannot move to the position.
Did they buff the boar sound effect? I don't think I've heard him holler like that before. He is going. I'd also noticed there is now a sound effect on the relic that they shadow added in the last patch. If you click on a relic now, it goes like, dong. Pretty cool. There we go. Pumbaa,
they should hire you as a voice actor.
Hey, I'll record sometimes. Okay,
that boar is so oppressive, though.
He is pissed off.
This warrior scout is never supposed to accomplish so much against 3 Danzos, but it's doing so well, and it keeps running circles around the villager. Scout goes down finally, so at least for the time being, Vortix is safe, but you get the feel that B bought himself so much time to build up this cattle eco.
I can't help but think, if I was in Vortix's shoe here, I would be so pissed off of like, of course, this freaking boar has spawned right next to where I'm trying to build my pit mine. Like, look on B side. That couldn't even happen. The boar is nowhere to be found. That's just how it happens sometimes. And a very clever play there from B. Of course, boar aggroing has been a thing since the very beginning of Age of Empires 4. So watch out for that. B's able to get a pickup on the scout. Kind of interesting how he's built his cows, by the way. You see that? Is he gonna go for a Farimba? Like, he doesn't need the space.
It's very possible. Here's the thing. With the Farimba garrison, you can easily overwhelm your opponent in a setup like this. It's actually something that gives you a massive advantage in production, especially if he just doesn't want to mirror what B is doing. It makes a lot of sense. So Warrior Scout once again being annoying here. Now, one side note here is that B's second pit mine is on a small gold deposit, whereas for Vortix, he has it on a large one. So once that large gold mine is saturated with houses, you actually have a better gold income for Vortix.
I haven't seen a Farimba in ages, but I feel like that's absolutely what B is gearing up for. There it is, the Farimba Garrison. This used to be the only landmark you saw for the Malians. You're able to exchange gold to get batch training of units at a favorable cost, but it got nerfed over time. It used to be really, really crazy, but B, going for it, going to be spamming out military. And this is a little bit of what I would probably consider an all-in at this point, because he's basically sacrificing a stronger food economy, where if you go up with the Grand Fulani Corral, in order to have more military. So when you do this, whatever landmark it is, whatever your civ you're playing, you need to get some value out of it if you're going up with a military landmark like this.
Certainly. I feel like there is so much to this here for B. First of all, as you said, it's a little all-in style. But let's talk about what's at stake here. If B wins this game with an all-in, he's going to be first in his group. Worst thing that can happen is that he's going to fall behind 2-1. He still goes to match point with a 2-1 lead. But I think the most important thing is that he simply doesn't want to play the game that Vortix wants to play. He doesn't want to mirror his opponent's moves. He is a player that likes to do things differently, and win off the back of a strategy choice, not necessarily execution.
Okay, here we have it. B is up with the Frimba. What is he training right now? I think he's getting his upgrades first is what's going on here. But this is going to be very interesting to watch here.
So old school, man. It's poison arrow archers. What year is this, man?
Oh, man. Poison arrow archers. Okay, that's going to be the weapon of choice here today. Vortix trying to scout, trying to see. I mean, I don't know if he even has noticed the Frimba yet. I would imagine that he scouted the cows and was like, okay.
He saw the 5 archers. That should be the telling sign. He saw a group of 5 units. That's a sign for the Frimba.
Okay, so can he do it with a off-meta strategy here with the Frimba? We've got
I'm not so sure, actually. Like, the problem is that he takes a long time to walk to the enemy base. By the time he arrives, Vortix is going to have a decent force of javelin throwers, and that is going to be enough to hold this. Sofas will help, but Donzos can offset that. If Vortix had all his troops right next to the enemy base right now, I think he would have a good chance. But he simply cannot group up close to the enemy base and achieve numerical superiority right now.
Okay, so we've got stables being added in with the archers, so it's going to be poison arrow archers along with the sofa. And going up against very different Castle Age strategies. And going to be start grabbing the relics, of course, as well. So Vortix making javelins in Donzo, going to be his composition. Looking like he might move out to the field. The only thing I'm a little nervous about right now is the fire speed of javelins is not very fast. So if he gets caught in a bad engagement out here mid-map, B, with a more mobile army with a sofa, could completely wipe this out.
This feels a little overzealous from Vortix.
Okay, here we go. Sofa moving forward. Gonna have to really micro a lot for both of these players. You've got the archers on one side trying to kill the Donzo. You've got the javelins trying to kill the archers. Donzo are going down. Sofa going to be moving up. He's going to start to get up on those javelins. And this is where things are going to get a little tricky, as I kind of mentioned as he was moving after during the map. Vortix has been able to make some very good trade against those archers, though. Got a lot of volleys off with a rather slow firing unit. There's the Donzo to defend. He turns around, going to take some shots off on those archers. Vortix with immaculate army control. B losing a considerable number of units there. But Vortix is able to hold.
Yeah, Vortix is going to be able to hold for the time being with the army he has. That's not a problem. Breaking out of his base is. Now, one thing that he has done very well was sneaking out some monks for some relics. He has a relic in garrisoned already. B is not really doing that. But as you said, the issue that you have here with the javelin throwers is that their rate of fire is very slow. So every time you just right-click an enemy archer, you do a lot of overkill damage. A lot of your damage output is wasted. And because of that, you actually waste a lot of your damage output, and it makes it much more ineffective to take these fights. And ultimately, this composition from B should be able to just flood you.
Okay, we see right now, in a defensive situation, the javelins turn around and taking volleys, but B not backing off. He just continues to flood units in here. And you can actually see Vortix is taking the better trades. If you look at the destruction value, although it seems like he pushed them back, Vortix has had a very, well, actually, I think that's, B's got the more
it's the other way around.
Yeah. Sorry, mirrors messed with my brain.
Now, range defense has been missing from Vortix in this entire game. Fighting against that many archers, that's a big problem.
Okay. So right now we've got, once again, Vortix moving out mid-map. Archer is squaring off against Donzo. Are those Musafati in there? He made a few Musafati words as well. We got the javelins trying to take some shots. Vortix really trying to control this army, taking volleys at those archers. Each one equals a dead archer. But look at the Sofa numbers are just growing and growing and growing, and that's going to be the bigger issue for Vortix here in the long run. The Sofa getting very close, not to mention he's got a lot of villagers gathering berries there on the front line. So if this army closes in, he's going to pull off that berry, slow down his food production.
Oh my, this is looking very grim now for Vortix, and that is exactly why you invest into the Frimba garrison. You're building up a temporary military advantage and you want to win a short game. And that's exactly what B might be able to secure here. He's so close to securing the first place in this group. And if he wins this game, it also means that Demu is going to be out of the tournament. Vortix looking to stay alive here a little longer, but how long can he hold on against that onslaught with poison arrows on the way now for B?
Oh man, those are going to be really, really deadly. Javelin backed all the way up. And I think just the speed of this army has been able to outdo it. Like on paper, you think javelins are just going to wreck archers, but it gets really hard in these mid stages of the game where you got to consider you're doing a little bit of overkill on each of those volleys you're doing against the archers. I mean, he just keeps trading and trading, trying to hold on here. It's looking like Vortix still might hold this yet. Look at this, getting some nice volleys there in a defensive situation. Javelins really shine, but I don't think B's going to let off the gas. We see he's spread out to some of those pit mines, working on those. Donzo continuing to come out to try to kill the sofa. But as those upgrades come in, I feel like this is going to get a little bit harder. This poison arrow is going to take out the Donzo so quickly.
Yeah, poison arrows just makes this very effective against everything that Vortix has, including sofas. Also, imported armor on the way for B. Looks like Vortix is going to hold for a time being, but he's down by 12 eco now. 10 villagers have been killed in this game, and sure enough, you do have that passive resource income. But when you lose 10 villagers in a mirror like that, that's not a good sign for Vortix.
There's still the cow boom going on in favor of Vortix at the moment, so we can't forget about that.
True.
But we've got
Look at
B
the
right
gold,
now.
though.
Yeah, gold's in trouble. Now, the archers, he might have the poison arrows, but not a lot of archers remain, though he only needs a few. Look at that. Really quickly melts. Sofa, moves a
This
body.
is even better, though, for him. He is heavy on the sofa, 17 sofas for B, and Vortix is completely out of Donzos here.
Yeah, look at that. Those poison arrows able to eat through this sofa pretty quickly. And we've got Sofa continuing to push forward. Javelins trying to kite. I mean, Vortix has not stopped to micro this entire game. Has been really on top of these javelins, keeping them alive. But I don't know for how much longer he's going to be able to now. There's Sofa pushing forward, going for the surround now. We see the poison arrows taking out any Sofa coming in. B is absolutely shredding Vortix's army. And
Oh my. B putting on a clinic here. 3-0s Vortix.
Oh
and
my.
with that, not only survives in this tournament, but secures the first place within his own group.
What? I mean, for B coming into this series, this is what he needed to do. This is what he wanted to do. He knew the goal. And man, I'm a little surprised to see Vortix wasn't able to at least pick up one game in this. He's definitely a very good player as well. But congratulations to 3DB pulling off a 3-0. I mean, interesting. A lot of these groups we've had today have been 3-0 victories.